just wanted to cover a few tidbits about Raritan Yacht Club. It's my home on the Raritan Bay, and we certainly would like if you'd consider making it your home as well. We're proud to be one of the oldest yacht clubs in the country, right in Perth Amboy on the Raritan Bay. Very active yacht club, very active sailing program, beautiful galley overlooking the bay where you can enjoy dinners. Year-round sailing opportunities for everyone. You can bring your boat or use one of ours, or even sign up to be crew for one of the Wednesday night racers. A lot of races Wednesday nights throughout the season and some weekend regattas throughout the season as well. The cruising events to clubs in the area and reciprocity with other clubs nationwide. The shared boat program, which I'm a participant of, very proud of what you've been able to accomplish with it. A small fleet with 4 Colgates and a Catalina 25 that's available for participants to use on the bay. And as you can see, the list goes on and on with summer sailing, ASA certifications, frostbiting in the winter, and even radio-controlled, remote-controlled laser regattas throughout the season. So there's something for everyone, and the hits just keep on coming. So very appreciative everyone taking time to join us. And
thanks. Well, thank you, and welcome everyone. So tonight our topic is going to be the topic for this series is going to be electronic routing tools. You can see on your slide or on your screen that it's split up into 4 sections. Tonight we're going to talk about an overview of the available software that's around, how they work, just some general overview, and hopefully we'll get to the point of downloading a chart. And you guys can play around. We're going to leave tonight with a little bit of homework for you guys. And we're going to meet every 2 weeks and just build up to the point where we can learn how to set a course, download weather, and optimize a course. So one thing I just want to highlight to everyone is that you know, these programs that exist are really powerful, and they work. They can either be used for, you know, so many people think of them in an offshore racing context where you're planning a path and optimizing your speed on the path, but they can also be used obviously for route planning, but also for avoiding weather, for avoiding certain wind, getting transit times. You know, most of these programs have aspects where you can, you know, avoid, you know, certain sea states and weather conditions and motor when you're below 5 knots, and they'll calculate your time for all that stuff. So they're very powerful programs once you figure out how to use them. So let's get rolling. One thing before we get started is I am a fairly amateur at this, and so there are going to be people absolutely that know more than I. So if you guys have anything to add, drop it in the chat room. Anything to suggest, we're more than open. And when I first envisioned this class, I think that, you know, as we get to the tougher and more esoteric topics near the end, we might just turn into, say, a user group or something where the people that have interest can look at their more the more challenging problems. So all right. So with that over, so I'm going to be doing most of the presenting tonight. My name's Lou Rugolo. If you don't know me, here's my some of my background. Also helping in this section and the sections to come is Dr. Gary Nachman. You see his information on the screen as well, and Kelly Robinson. Both have a lot of experience offshore and a lot of racing experience, and all 3 of us are members of RYC, as are my education committee, which is John Dennerline, Adam Anea, and Paul Susdak. And thank you guys for support and help setting all this up. So let's just get rolling. Okay, just a couple of general topics. So if you can, please stay on mute. This way you don't interrupt the audio. Have any questions? Put it in the chat window. We can answer it at the end. If John or Adam, if you guys are watching the chat, if there's anything like, really, timely that you bring up, just interrupt me, no problem. Okay. We are recording the website. You probably saw the general message, and it will be on the RYC social media, whether it's the site or the Facebook page. But the session will be there as the recording, as well as the handouts. Okay. So we kind of went through this. Tonight's section is basic idea of how each of these programs function. They all function very much the same. So it becomes an issue of what flavor, what flavor you like. We're going to look roughly at the functions, kind of understand how they work. I'm going to give you guys directions to download a program yourself. Yeah, you have a couple choices there. And we're going to talk about there's the websites where you can do free online racing. And it's kind of interesting. We'll cover that. And then we'll start getting into a little bit more of how the programs function. Next class is going to be setting a course, and what other information needs to go into these programs to be able to set a course. Obviously, one of the things is weather. So session 3 is going to be on finding and downloading weather. What weather files you can, which ones are pertinent, without getting into a less filling, tastes great discussion over which models are which, but we just want everyone to know they're out there. And then in either section 3 or 4, how we download that weather. It's easy when we're at our desk. It's a little tougher, on the boat on the dock, and it's even tougher still when you're offshore and at a cell site. And then the last section, I think, is going to be some other topics. And after we've optimized the course, how do we review it and see if it makes sense? So that's kind of where we're headed. All right. So an electronic nav program, and this, by the way, this is Expedition. That's one of the leading programs. So it needs a couple things in order for this powerful program to give you advice on the course and how you should run. It's going to need to know several things. First, it's going to want to know where you're going and how you get there. Next thing is you're going to need to give it some information about obstructions, what's in the way. These programs, computers are garbage in, garbage out. So it'll take you, from Sandy Hook to Block, right across Montauk if you don't tell it differently. So you need to tell it some information about the obstructions in the way, about the depths in the way. Now, if you think about it, right, these programs are going to tell you transit times and things like that, and they can even tell you what sails to have up. So in order to do that, they've got to have some information about your boat performance. Okay, did I advance it? There we go. I was cleaning my mouse and it went off. Then the other thing is the weather. You're going to have to tell it what to expect. What are the winds? What are the sea states? What are the waves? If you're heading to Bermuda, you can also download current information and Gulf Stream information as well. And it'll take all that information and grind it all down and spit you out a course. And if you're doing this for route planning and just cruising, you also can put in you know, when you want to sail, or if you know, interim waypoint. All right.
So anyway,
Okay, are we good? Or is we got somebody's got to mute themselves. Okay, so that's there's really there's a lot of programs out there. I've got just kind of some of the big ones that were in my mind. The top left is Expedition. As I said, that's one of the bigger ones. And these might not be in the same order, but the bottom one on the left, I think, is that's Predict Wind offshore. The top right is I believe that's QTVLM. That's another program we'll talk about. And this, I think this one in the bottom right is Open CPN. So we're going to talk a little bit about those. And I just wanted to show you how they look. And this one down here, I mean, you know, obviously you see these are just raster charts here. And then you see a little weather overlaid on this Predict Wind chart. Okay, so some of the big software that available out there, there are several of them. And just to kind of run through which they are, is so Expedition Marine that's a fairly robust and popular racing program. It's just because it's just what a lot of racing sailors use. It is kind of expensive. It's $12.95, and that's, you know, you buy the software, and you get upgrades for a couple of years, and it's a good program. Here's a website. You can download. I didn't put it on there. You can download a 30-day trial for that. So what I'd like to do as far as this class is for everybody to download a program and play with it and kind of get used to it. I'm going to walk through, you know, some of these programs and your choices. So that's basically Expedition. You know, if you download the 30-day trial, problem is we're meeting every 2 weeks. So for the last two classes, you're gonna either you have to download another trial, or you're out of luck. So that's one thing. The next thing is Predict Wind. A lot of us use that for, you know, coastal sailing and bay sailing and stuff like that, and checking wind. So the Predict Wind has it's two different programs, and so the Predict Wind program can do a lot of these functions. I have less experience with it, but the gist of it is you put in the information about your boat, and it crunches the numbers on a mainframe, on a server somewhere. So you've got to be within web service or cell service to get that. And then the companion product is Predict Wind Offshore, which is you can use it offline, and it does the crunching on your computing device. You know, so the nice thing about it is seems I've just played with it a little bit. Seems simple to use, simpler to use, and the pricing's a little better. You can buy it for a season or a big cruise or something like that, so it's not bad. Navionics is, you know, this is a program where we kind of all use, you know, most of the time with boating. I have less experience with the routing and the routing functions and route optimization functions within Navionics. It does have some, but I'm not entirely familiar with how it runs. The last two. So the last two, this is sorry about that. I'm back. Okay. The last two programs, this one is called QTVLM. And this is the website for it. And it is it's available, you know, for all platforms, and it's public domain, so it's free. And the nice thing about this program is it operates almost identically to Expedition. So I think that's a good tool for people that are just kind of playing around. It's probably a good thing to learn, because then you can, if you pick up another program like Expedition at some point, the knowledge is easily transferable. The last program is also an open source. I'm sorry, I keep advancing the slide here. The last program is OpenCPN, and it's public domain. There's your site. It's free. You can download it on any platform. It's great looking program. I've just seen it. I haven't played with that at all. It was, last time when I was looking into these programs, it was kind of in its infancy. It seems to be growing a lot in popularity and in sophistication. There's a lot of people running. There's a lot of people running it on all kinds of different devices. You're down to Linux machines and some small, RISC computing stuff. There's stuff on the web about people running on Raspberry Pis and Arduinos and all kinds of little stuff. People making their own chart plotters for, budget $100, $150. So that's some of the interesting stuff out there. That's kind of the lay of the land. There also one of the benefits to each of these. I put this in just so you have this information for you can reach the slides after the presentation is over, and you can have it. There's some great stuff on learning entities. You can get them on YouTube. There's some great tutorials. So there's one on each. And there's later on in the presentation, there's also one for StarPath navigation that has some tutorials on all these programs, and very well directed and targeted tutorials on how to do specific things in each of those programs. So those are some good resources. And together it'll make you makes it fairly easy to kind of absorb this stuff on your own. Actually, before I get to that, the one thing I want to also point out is the nice thing about in particular QTVLM and pretty much OpenCPN as well, is there's a lot of tutorials out there, and the documentation and the forums and stuff are very good on them. So you can get answers to your questions very easily. So, and then the one I didn't put on there that I kind of just happened to see, it was iNavix, and I don't have any experience with that. I'm just most of my machines are Windows, so I have less experience with the Apple products. Okay, so what do we need to put into these pieces of software to actually get it to work? First thing we need to do is we need to be able to download a chart. Okay, we're lucky in the U.S. that NOAA offers charts for free. So first thing we need is a chart of where we want to go and where we're leaving from. Then we need some way to put in waypoints. Okay, there's going to be programs specifically, most of the programs, but definitely Expedition calls them marks. So you'll hear me talk about marks, but it's really just a waypoint. The other piece about that marks and waypoints is you also need a way to put in information about obstructions and draft of your boat and those kinds of things, so it can figure those things out. The next thing is the ability to upload the performance of the boat in question. Okay, you're going to have to tell this program what the size of the boat, the type of the boat, the performance of the boat, and you can get into all different levels of that. You can, it'll have a sail plan, or a sales suite assumed, and you can check what sales it assumes you have and things like that. So, and we'll talk a little bit about that in future sessions. And then the last thing is you need the ability to put in environmental parameters, wind, over the course you're going to run, wind, current, sea state. You can pull down anything from a weather site, sea level pressure, rain, you name it. You can bring this information in and put it in your computer, and the computer will take it into account when it's planning your route. All right. How we doing on do we have any questions? Are we good on the chat room, guys?
No, Lou, mostly general questions. We're good for now. Thanks.
Okay, cool. All right. There we are. Okay. So one of the suggestions that I think makes sense, and this I and some other people on my crew learned this in 2020 when we couldn't do the Bermuda race for real. We did it virtually, and I found some really interesting stuff. There's an organization called sailonline.org, and they run virtual sailing, virtual offshore races, and they run them together with the regular race. So I looked on the site today. So that let's see, that slide was a bit old, but so that was the race that was just starting at the end of 2021. There's another one starting in 3 days. And a nice thing about this online sail racing is it's really fairly like well documented, and there's a lot of information on how you do it. And they also refer you to this program that I mentioned a couple times down on the lower right. Actually, Sail Online, the dashboard of the boat is on the lower left. That's what Sail Online looks like. Okay, and you pick a boat, or there might have a specific boat for a specific race, and the performance data is what you see on the right side of the screen. I can't get my cursor over there. You guys don't see my cursor, right? Or do you? No? Okay, thanks. So on the left side of this, the illustration on the lower left, on the right side of it is performance information for a boat. You probably have heard of it. It's called polars, and we'll talk about what they mean and how to read it in future sections. And the illustration on the lower right is QTVLM. It's that navigation package that is public domain. And what you can do is you can plot your course in that, and then transfer the waypoints to Sail Online, and you can sail your course that way. I've used this, I think, twice, and I've actually, believe it or not, it's amazing how much you can learn by going through a virtual race. And I haven't experimented with too much, but there's actually even a way to pass the information between the two programs. So QTVLM will actually see the progress of your race boat across the course, and then when you make a change in one program, it'll change it'll change the boat inputs on the other. So I think that would be a good way to kind of learn how to programs function, learn some stuff about navigation, learn some stuff about offshore offshore racing. So those are two sites I think that are very good, both free. And like I mentioned a couple times, the documentation on Meltimus that's the site that has QTVLM. Between that and between the information on the support for Sail Online, it's very interesting. The big difference is online sailing doesn't take currents into effect. It only handles the wind information. but you still can learn a lot. Okay, so as I said, the first, the first of our options for learning navigation programs is possibly expedition trial. Okay, as I said, it's the pros, right? A lot of racers use it. It's one of the I think it's one of the older of the nav programs. It's got a lot of support, a lot of people using it, and certainly me, Kelly, Gary, we have a fair amount of experience with it, more so than the other programs. Most of the class illustrations and demonstrations, if I show you how to do something or redo, it'll probably be an expedition. I'll try and do it in QTVLM because that's probably the second program that I kind of know a little bit about. But the information is pretty transferable between both. The downsides of using expedition, as I said, the trial is only active for 30 days. So we got to figure out, what you're going to do after that. And the full program is a little more pricey than the other programs. And here's the site to download it if you wish. And I haven't found as robust. Not that I've gone through the forums that much, but I found the forums weren't quite as robust. It was a little tougher to get questions answered because there was less places to look. Is my experience. That just could be, what I found. Okay, so if we were, let me just jump back one slide. So any of the public domain programs, as I said, I think that's probably the best learning tool if you don't have access to Expedition or you're agnostic on which one to use. I would suggest QTVLM. It's free and unlimited. Actually, it's for desktop. I think it's free. It's Windows and Mac. I just updated my copy earlier today, and I think there's a tablet version that may cost something to run, but I just went right back to the desktop version and updated that, and it worked fine. The documentation is very good between what's available on YouTube and what is available online at Meltimus. And what I found, I knew a little bit about Expedition before I ever used this to do online racing, and so much of skills were transferable. I knew how to do it in Expedition. It was just mostly a matter of seeing what the icon looked like in QTVLM. And as I was going through things and learning it in QTVLM, I found that everything was so transferable back to Expedition. It was really worked out well. As I said, between Sail Online and Meltimus, there's active forums and good documentation. And then, like I said, we actually had a lot of fun. We did the Bermuda race in 2020, and we did, I guess, a vineyard race in, I think it was also 2020. We did a vineyard race, virtual, and it was fun, and it was the most sleep I've ever gotten while I was navigating a race.
Lou, we have a question on the QTVLN, and the question is it plotter compatible? They're also asking, do they accept charts outside the USA? Somebody wants to know if it works in Canada. So
I believe it does. Do the NOAA charts cover Canada or portions of Canada? I'm not certain, but yeah, I think they are. Actually, QTVLM What was that?
Reenactment here. I can answer that question.
Sure,
Yeah, no, charts do not cover Canada, but as long as charts are in a readable format, the QTVLM can import them. So that's really a problem. And program is not. Somebody asked if it's compatible with a chart plotter. No, you're not going to take this program and run it on a Garmin or a B&G or a Raymarine chart plotter, but you're essentially using your computer or your tablet as the plotter.
So QTVLM is actually a French program. So there's directions. I think you go for like C maps and map packages you download for that. We're lucky with the US that NOAA has all that stuff for free. Hey, Gary, I think that OpenCPN, can that run on certain chart plotters or no? I mean, I never.
No,
okay.
It's the computer-based program. Somebody just asked about the Great Lakes. Yeah, NOAA charts cover the Great Lakes, so there's no reason why you couldn't.
Okay.
For any of these programs, actually, yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, so now that's a good segue. As far as downloading charts, so there's going to be a NOAA has a chart viewer page. I've put the tab, the link to it up there. The U.S. government produces all the charts for the U.S. and you can use them free of charge. So that's and then it comes from the Office of Coastal Survey at NOAA. That's down in your lower left. So what you can download from there is, if you see in the ribbon up top, where it appears in yellow, the future of NOAA charts. There's a ribbon there that you can download, whatever charts. So there's two different types of charts. One is a raster chart. Those are what we all think of as a paper chart. And there's a picture of a raster chart of the RYC area over on the right there. So the interesting thing, thing to remember about a raster chart is it's literally an accurate scan of a paper document. So when you zoom in and zoom out, the information is there, and it will be there, and you can zoom in on it. The detail is constant is essentially what I'm pointing out. Okay, and then an electronic navigation chart or a vector chart is a little different, and I'll show you that on the following slide. So you can both are downloadable from this same NOAA chart viewer. You can see, on that ribbon in blue, I'm sorry, below the ribbon in blue, you'll see paper charts. That's the RNC, the raster charts. And you can also download PDF versions of them. I'll show you how to do that. And electronic charts, you just click the other tab. And the red squares are the charts that are available. So you see that the RNC chart tab is highlighted. So those are all the available RNC charts that you could download. And I'll talk more about that in another couple slides. Okay, one thing while we're talking about raster charts. So raster charts are getting sunsetted, so they're not going to be around anymore. I think the sunset date final is 2025, as it says there. So I don't know if I'm going to guess that a lot of people are like me, where you're kind of just more familiar with using raster charts, and you kind of just default to them as something's more familiar. But we're going to have to all get more used to working with electronic nav charts. So that's just something to be aware about. Okay, so now electronic nav charts or vector charts. The thing to know about them, and the way they differ from raster charts, is that the detail that's displayed on the chart depends on the zoom you're looking at it with. So here I have 3 electronic nav charts of, here, let me just jump back for a second. So in the lower right is the raster chart of Perth Amboy area and our mooring field. This is if you're not familiar with our area, it's at the west end of Raritan Bay. Okay, so now on this slide, here's 3 different views of the electronic nav chart of the same area. The top right is the high, the furthest out. So it's the lowest level of zoom. And you'll see that there's, it barely shows the outlines of the channels. It doesn't have any depths or navigational aids. Then the next one is the lower left, and you can see some more detail is visible, the extents of the channel, and some additional marks. And now you can see a lower right is zoomed in even more, and the depths and obstructions show up. So that's one thing to keep in mind when you're using an electronic chart. And I'm gonna, we're gonna talk about that a lot later on, but I'm going to mention it now just in case. That's really important to keep an eye on. If you're using a routing with an electronic chart, if you're just looking at the route from, say, this top right chart, you don't even see the bridge that's over, on the Raritan River there, and you don't see any depths. So and you don't see the if you wouldn't see any of the obstructions that show up in the mooring field. So when we get to electronic nav charts and plotting and routing, you really want to zoom in and go through your route to make sure that you're not going over obstructions or rocks or anything like that. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to talk about downloading charts. And I think we're doing fine on time, so I may just try. I'm sorry, 1 second. I have to plug my adapter in here.
While Lou is off, one thing I would add on the difference between ENC and raster charts is that raster charts keep a lot of information on them that you don't get on a ENC charts get a lot of information that raster charts don't. So for instance, if you're doing a routing, one of the features we'll see as we go on is that most programs will allow you to route around land automatically, but you can only do that with an ENC chart, because the raster chart doesn't understand what land is. It just has colors, right? There's no data associated with points on the chart, actually. You're just reading an image. So we'll come back to that later.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it, Kelly. Okay, so maybe what we'll do is we'll go over this slide, and then I'm a little hesitant to minimize my presentation and go for this, but I may just try it. Okay, so if you go to this NOAA chart site, this chart viewer site, it's the exact same one I put on the prior page, but this is just a little more expanded. So you have the opportunity, excuse me, you have the opportunity there's one tab there for paper charts, and you can via that tab, that's the tab that's selected now. So you'll see I have 12331 is the chart that I have highlighted there. and that's the chart number. So what you're going to see is when you highlight a chart that you want to download, you're going to see the chart number here. I wish I had my cursor. You guys can't see it, huh? That's it. Oh, is this it?
We can see your cursor, Lou.
Thank you. Okay, good. All right. And you can see this too, right? you can see this?
Yes.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay.
Yep.
Thanks. All right. So there's the chart. So over here is the chart number and some information on it, scale and that kind of stuff. Now, what you are and the things that are available for you to download are over here. You could download. You can view it, you can buy it. I guess they'd send you a paper one. I don't quite know about that, but you can get a PDF version. You can get the raster nav chart. That's RNC. You can get the booklet chart, which is it's just pieces of the chart. This way, if you're really old, it's like the old triptychs from AAA where you flip pages and you see where you're going. Kind of interesting. And then the other thing is you can get notice to mariners over here. So, if you know that the charts can't be updated in real time. So what they do is they'll issue updates as notice to mariners. So you can download the notice to mariners as well. And history is just, you can get prior versions of the charts. So that's available. And you'll see the same kind of thing on the ENC page. It'll be what you can download. One of the other things I want to point out is on this page, you can also get the Coast Pilot. Okay, that's really a great resource. So it'll talk about a certain area. So I read the Coast Pilot for New York Harbor and Raritan Bay, and it'll talk about whale migration areas. It'll talk about certain depths and bottom configurations. And there's a very interesting bit of information to read through. Okay, so to jump back to the download procedure. Okay, you're going to see these options will show up on the right. You pick which one you want. It'll come to a big user agreement page, as any piece of software does. Down at the bottom, you can click OK. On a Windows machine, I can't talk about Apple machines because I don't use them very much. So on a Windows machine, the zip chart will be downloaded, sent to your downloads folder. One thing I would suggest is if you're taking a raster chart, it'll be listed by the chart number. So that's this chart number here. Sometimes they're listed by the chart title as well. And the ENC charts, I haven't quite figured out the nomenclature for that. They just have an alphanumeric character set. So just keep an eye on what you're downloading so that you can find it in your downloads folder.
Hey, Lou, there's a question regarding the ENC charts.
Mhm.
And basically the question is, are the notice to mariners necessary with the ENC charts?
I would think so. I think it's a more timely way to update any chart, but I will check once we get or Kelly or Gary, if you want to just go to the.
That's an easy one. Notice to mariners is important. It's much more current than most of us update our charts on the ENC charts. I mean, I'm not sure. I don't think that they physically are updated often enough to be more current than notice to mariners. But even if they are, most of us don't update our charts that frequently.
Is that any other questions, John?
That was the primary one. There's some other comments that we can talk about towards the end. So
Okay. So
just in that line, there is a question that came up. Will the notice to mariners update the digital charts? I think Kelly answered that in his response, but yeah. I'll just leave it to the authors to respond.
Yeah, the notice to mariners is just a text document. It might talk to you about a buoy that's moved or something like that, or any shoaling that's happened in the past, few months or something like that. Let's walk through this next. Let's talk through this chart download procedure, and then we'll see if we want to do a live demo of it. Okay, so once you have your chart downloaded to your downloads folder, you open again, and this is Expedition. You click on the 3 bars right here, and it'll come to your Expedition data folder. That's where all of your program data resides. You click on that, and that gives you this screen right here. And this is where the program data is stored. If you see over here, I created a folder for zipped charts, so that I would just move a zipped chart over to Expedition, and then I would extract it in that same folder. And I just did that so that if I ever had something that was corrupt, I had the zip folder there, so I could just re-extract it. You're welcome to do anything that makes sense to you. And if anybody that has more experience with Expedition, knows the default folder where this stuff goes, I'm all ears. Okay, so you just go to your you set up a folder, you extract it there, and then the next step is going to be oh, okay, so now you know what, I didn't update these. I apologize, I didn't update these illustrations. Okay, so then what we will do is we will definitely do a live demo then. So you then on Expedition, you will, if you look over here, there's a box, it's partially hidden. There are some click boxes where this ENC is for electronic navigation chart, RNC is for raster nav chart. Okay, so if you click whichever one you downloaded, you click on that and it will open up a window. Okay, you can put the chart name in that window and hit search, and it should find it, and then you click open and it will open that chart. So that's the Expedition download procedure. How we doing on time? We're good. 8 o'clock. Let's let me walk through the rest of these, because just in case, I'm just afraid the computer is gonna between Zoom and QTVLM, I'm just wondering if it's gonna crash. Let's go through the QTVLM procedure as well. Actually, that's so on QTVLM, there's, as I said, there's when I see a typo. So the nice thing, because I was trying to refresh my memory with QTVLM again today, and so there's on YouTube, there's a channel for StarPath navigation, and he goes through a lot of detailed tutorials on all different nav packages, iNavX, OpenCPN, all of them, and so you can go through those. There's a specific tutorial on downloading a chart to QTVLM. It's pretty wild. It's very detailed. He walks you through. He has this on his site. He has I don't know how he did it, but he reworked he built an interactive page for the NOAA chart viewer. So you can go here and you can download a region of ENC charts, or a region of RNC charts, or individual charts. There's all kinds of options here, which if Gary or Kelly, if you want to chime in. You said that it's possible to do through the NOAA site. I wasn't quite as familiar with doing that, but we can actually talk about that as we go through stuff as we go through it, and we should have time to do both of these downloads because we're doing wonderful on time.
Hey, Lou, do you want to go back to the NOAA chart page, and I could show you how to get the whole district?
You want to? Oh, you mean live?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Let me just go to this next slide. So what I think will work out well for you guys, if you'd like to really take full advantage of these sessions we're offering, is download the program, whichever one you think makes sense for you, when you want to use. Download the program, take a tutorial on it. I learned a lot from the North U expedition classes. There are on YouTube. There are expedition sessions that they're made to be in concert with their course, but they're a little bit chopped up in bits and pieces. But there's good information here. There might be one on avoiding obstructions. There might be one on plotting a course, one on running an optimization. But pretty much you could just start playing around in YouTube and you can get an awful lot of tutorials. It's pretty amazing stuff. And I've tried to give you guys lists of some of the tutorials that I've found helpful. And then we're going to go through, Gary, I think it's a great idea. We're going to go through, we'll go to the chart viewer page, and we'll download a chart. And then I will try and walk you through QTVLM, and we will probably finish up in like a half hour, I think. That's probably the timing. All right, let me see here. So let me stop sharing.
Some upcoming events. I know we talked about it a lot throughout the session, but this is a series of courses on electronic navigation. So the next 3 in the series are coming up. They're going to be Wednesday evenings at 7, just like tonight. And we'll be holding one every 2 weeks. And you can see the schedule there. The next one is February 2nd. You do need to visit our website or social media, wherever you found us, and register again for each of the sessions individually, just to ensure that you get the link to sign into the meeting. I believe we'll also be sending all the participants tonight a reminder email that says basically the same thing. Another point that we wanted to make is coming up toward the end of March. We have a very exciting event queued up for everyone to enjoy. This is open for members and the public, I believe, to come join us in. The British Virgin Island Tourism Board is hosting a party. We're going to have painkillers and appetizers and a steel drum band with dinner available after.
And thank you guys again. There's our social media addresses, and where you can find any of this course information as we go through, or the next class, information for the next class. All right, and so are we good on questions in chat, John?
We are good on questions, except some person wants to know what frostbiting is.
So good question. So frostbiting is, when the big boats go away in October, November, we have either JY-15s, which are small dinghies, or Flying Scots, which are a little bigger. And we have organized races from about somewhere around Thanksgiving or early November till about New Year's Day. And it's probably about, 6-8 weeks we run races. There's probably about 8 to 10 boats out there, with a chase boat. And, before the weather cools down. So it helps for people that are starting to get the itch after the sailing season is over. So, All right.
So
All
just
right.
a little tidbit, we have people from the Carolinas on board. We have people from Michigan, people from Vermont. And I believe someone from Bitter Island Yacht Club is also on board. So quite a wide geography that we've covered with this session. So thanks to everyone.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks everybody for being involved, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Have a great night.